Hi, I'm Julie Swanson. I'm the Life Skills Lady. And welcome to our segment on what is ABA? What is a BCBA? And Milestones. Who the heck are these people anyway? Which is part of our overall series on viral health and safety skills. I'm joined by Suzanne Letso, who is the co-founder and CEO of Milestones Behavioral Services. And these are the folks who are in all of the videos talking about viral health and safety skills. Suzanne, welcome.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's a pleasure.
Well, I'm so excited that we partnered with each other in this, and I knew you to reach out to. You know, one of the first things I want to let everybody know is that Suzanne and I know each other very well. We go back way too many years. Our sons were both diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder in the mid-1990s. And Suzanne was one of these super parents who, responding to the fact that back in those dinosaur days of autism spectrum disorders, and I say that because trust me when I tell you it's not like it is today. There was a complete lack of resources and services at that time. And Suzanne responded to that and actually started a school, which back in those days was called CCCD, the Connecticut Center for Child Development, which now blossomed over time into Milestones Behavioral Services. Could you real quickly talk about how you began the school and how it grew to Milestones Behavioral Services and what you do now, the scope of what Milestones does?
So in my life before autism, I worked in the medical industry, and I was an evidence-based girl. I was a science-based girl. I helped evaluate the efficacy of various medical devices for market. So to come into the realm of special education, and back in the day, I think it was 1 in 10,000 when our kids were diagnosed.
It might as well have been 1 in a million, because that's what it felt like at the time.
So if I told somebody back then that my child was autistic, they thought I said artistic and wanted to know if he painted or did he sculpt, what did he do? Nobody knew what it was. So we're so far beyond that now, which is great, and that people at least understand what we're talking about. But back then, because it was a little known disorder and there were so few programs, being able to access an appropriate education for our children was difficult, if not impossible. There's many more resources today.
But you took the step to, once you discovered applied behavior analysis, you opened the very first school using the principles of ABA in Connecticut, and the 5th or 6th in the whole country. And so I was so lucky enough to find out about you at the time, knocked on your door and said, hey, I'm trying to find a school for my son. And my son was actually one of your very first students when the school was in the basement of a church. So that's a long time ago. Talk to us about what Milestones has grown into.
So today we have 2 school programs, one that serves the full spectrum of kids from 2.8 years to 22 of all levels of disability. And the other one is really specifically targeting children who have a lot more social and communicative skill and could benefit from a lot of small group work and being given some of their instruction at a local university. We do a lot of community inclusion for all of our kids, regardless of their level of disability, but it looks a little bit different for our second school program for those kids that may be college bound or hope to be at least like in a community education program. So we have programs, we have an adult day program, we do insurance funded clinic services, we have what we call advanced interventions. That's a even more intensive program than a private school program that's specifically targeting problem behavior like eating disorders or self-injury or aggression, with the goal of getting them to a place where they can return to another less restrictive, more inclusive environment as quickly as possible. We do school consults, so we help people in public schools provide services. We help providers who would like to, or private individuals or programs that would like to start schools. We've done a lot of school startup, school assessment and evaluation, both from a systemic perspective, as well as looking at doing individualized program evaluations for a specific student to see if what environment's best or what tweaks we can give to make an environment more effective. We do
Mhm.
assessments, parent training. We offer bilingual services to the Spanish-speaking community. We do global access. So we do telehealth and
Yeah.
concept program evaluation, kind of around the world at this point.
Wow. And that's something due to the pandemic and telehealth becoming available to folks. It's like opening up the world for people to be able to go through a telehealth model through insurance. So that's a really exciting thing.
Well, I'm forgetting something, and I think to shortcut this, what I would say if anybody wants to know more about our programs or to see what our full slate of services is, to go to mbs-inc.org and see what, you could test me and see what I forgot.
Okay, fair enough. So Suzanne, it's not the average parent who has an autism spectrum disorder, or their child has an autism spectrum disorder, where you just say, well, I'm going to start a school. That's rather extraordinary. But you didn't stop at starting a school. You're also a board certified behavior analyst, which is why you're going to answer the questions later about what is ABA and what is a BCBA. But tell us just some of the things. We'd be on this video for a long time if you were to go into great detail about everything. But tell us about some of the things that you've done that have improved the community for students and adults who have autism spectrum disorders.
Well, Julie, I think, as you know, because you've been a partner with me in many of our legislative and other advocacy work, is that I've worked alongside many other people to get legislation
Yes.
in support of special education in general, as well as specific to kids with autism and specific to the provision of ABA.
Yeah.
I've done most of that in Connecticut, but I've also worked in other states and on other initiatives on a more national level
Right.
to help educate people about how to be an advocate and how to inspire grassroots advocacy in general.
And how about the fact that you have been involved in many nonprofit organizations around the applied behavior analysis?
Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to serve on a number of task forces and boards in my profession. I've been afforded the opportunity to speak nationally and internationally, which to me is always about helping people get that kernel of what can I do next to better myself as a professional, to better my child's life, to get my family the things that they are successful.
Well, there's a very good reason, everyone, why I reached out to Suzanne and Milestones Behavioral Services to partner on this series on viral health and safety skills. My son went to, it was Connecticut Center for Child Development at the time, then became Milestones from the time he was 3 years old until he exited special education at 21. And so, for me, the proof was in the pudding, because I consider the fact that my son had an excellent education. He learned to learn. He learned to be a flexible guy. We really maximized his potential. And he's now an adult who has a meaningful, productive, happy life. And I really do owe that to Milestones Behavioral Services. I've told you that many times privately, Suzanne. So you are my go-to folks to reach out to. So having said that, can you tell everybody who's watching, simply put, because most people, many people, I should say, may not be familiar with the science of applied behavior analysis and what a BCBA is. So could you talk about that?
So behavior analysis is a science. It's based on data and evidence and peer-reviewed literature. But I think for today, what I'd like people to keep in mind is that that's all well and good, but what the goal for behavior analysts is, one person at a time, to design strategies that are effective at enhancing quality of life and generate socially important and significant outcomes for the individual that we're working with, their families, and their communities. So anything that we can do that keeps people's worlds as big as possible. You and I were talking the other day about a program that we did with your son around toileting. I had toileting issues with my child too, because I was never going to win the parent of the parent of the award any. But this one time in particular, when I lost my kid in a movie theater because there were 2 doors into a men's room and I didn't know it, and he went out the other door and was gone for really what seemed like an eon. So when I came back, I don't work directly with my own son as a behavior analyst. So I went to my son's team and asked them to help us design some strategies so that I wasn't at the bottom of the list as a parent again.
So
we could teach too, though.
right. So did I mention the fact that you were also a board certified behavior analyst? Okay, sorry, I'm just losing some of my thoughts. I have so many thoughts in my head right now. I wanted to say that we are not demanding that you use the principles of applied behavior analysis to teach life skills or viral health and safety skills to your child. This is what we are presenting, but certainly not saying this is the only way that you could go about it. And please reach out to your school team or other professionals at who you're working with, to use alternative methodologies and principles to teach these skills. So just wanted to make sure that we said that. But Suzanne, you tapped on something that I think is so important, and this is all about breaking down barriers that close our world in. We want our kids to grow up to be adults who can maximize their ability to participate in the community and have meaningful, productive lives for whatever that is for your child. There's no dictating what the ultimate outcome is. That's all going to be individualized. But this is all about breaking down barriers. And this series, Viral Health and Safety Skills, with this new challenge that we have on our planet, we have to keep people safe. And these are, I call viral health and safety skills the new essential life skills. So can you talk about why you think viral health and safety skills are so important?
So I think life skills in general are really important. So these new essentials, as I think you just referred to them, I think need to go to the top of the list for what should be on a child's individualized education plan, because just like if I can't go to church because my child can't be quiet there, or if I can't go out with my son for a long enough period of time that he can or is able to use a public restroom independently of me, my world gets smaller every time there's a limitation like that. So anything that we can do to keep the world as big as possible, I think is important. And if a child can't wear a mask, if they can't social distance, if they are ostracized because they're in situations where everybody else is wearing a mask and they're not, that's all very limiting and very stressful for everybody involved. So anything that we can do to help our children navigate the world as it is right now is, I think, of paramount importance. Well, I think you touched on something earlier. When you see these videos, it's a starting place.
Yes.
An idea for creative problem solving for you and your team, or the notion that yes, these things can be taught and are legitimate for an individualized plan.
Right. And I do a segment with attorney Jennifer Laviano, special education attorney Jennifer Laviano, and we talk about the legal supports for having these viral health and safety skills in your child's IEP, individualized education program. And yes, Suzanne, the whole reason that I wanted to do these is a starting point. And if you're someone who didn't even know that you could ask for these skills to be on the IEP, or you could reach out to your team for help, that's what I wanted to spur. I wanted to just spur the process to start happening. Now, what we did is I got sidetracked. Oh,
Can I
what?
give a quick shout out to the Milestones staff? We started working on
Yes.
mask wearing with all of our students who couldn't wear masks in, I'd say, about April. Well, they started coming for assessments just this week, and almost everybody was able to wear a mask, at least for a period of time, but it's because we were working on it. So just to tell you an anecdote, the first day that my son, who lives in a group home, so I was Zooming with him because we weren't allowed in, and I said, oh, Tyler, you practiced wearing a mask today. Do you have a mask? And he said, yes. And I said, well, could you get it and put it on? And he said, yes. So he came holding the mask. I'm like, well, but you have to put it on. So he did. He put it over his eyes. And I'm like, it's a start. But he does it now. And he wears it the entire time he's there. So it's great.
Right. So, that instruction is so important. And I'm sure you worked with the parents of those students because they couldn't be coming to your building, right? And this is where, and we'll talk about it in the segment with Jennifer Laviano, ask for parent training. This is within the realm of what you could be asking for. So speaking of your wonderful staff, before we talk about them individually, what is a BCBA?
So a BCBA is a board certified behavior analyst. If anybody wants details about it, you can go to the website bacb.com and you can see all of the criteria in detail. But essentially, somebody who's done the coursework required, has been supervised by a qualified individual who's already board certified or equivalent to that, and then they pass a high stakes exam. It's a pretty tough exam. You really have to know stuff. So that's just the beginning. Anybody who's going to hire a BCBA would really want to make sure that that person has a depth of training and experience beyond just getting certified, because that's just the floor with this population.
So speaking of BCBAs and your lovely staff who were involved in the in this viral health and safety skills videos, can you say a few words about these ladies, many of whom started with you when my son first started the school way back when?
So about 4 or 5 of them: Tanya Vidosevic, Palazzo, Amy Beret, Christine Marino, and Megan McCarran have all been with us somewhere between 15 and 20 years. I think Tracy Sanford, a little bit newer, she might be like 16 or 17 years. So many of them started either as entry-level direct instructors and got promoted like a gazillion times throughout the years and become part of our senior leadership team. Solange is also a bilingual expert and is in addition to board certified behavior is she was with us for 5 years and just came back a couple of years ago, but she also has about 18 years experience. So the one in our group, Eileen Mack, who's only been with us a few years, but she has other experience joining Milestones.
Did you mention Lisa Gregory and Tracy Sanford?
I did not. Lisa,
okay.
are not board certified analysts yet, although they both have just completed the coursework with exams soon, we hope. They are both special education teachers and are certified public school administrators. One is our Tracy is our principal of the schools, and Lisa is our president of education.
Well, thank you so much. And again, Suzanne, I am so thrilled to be working with you and Milestones Behavioral Services to bring this series to folks. And we certainly hope that it can help you. And if you want to learn more about Milestones Behavioral Services, you can go to mbs-inc.org. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
The one parting thing I would say, Julie, is that
yes,
we do help people throughout the country. It's overseas. But I'm also more than happy if somebody wants to reach out to me personally. If we can get to a local provider, we will do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.